Greetings and welcome to Connecting with Intent show. I'm your host Muhammad Awais. On this episode, we have a very special guest. She is the sustainability researcher and program manager at the Center for the Circular Economy, Carol Grzych. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Carol Grzych. Carol, welcome.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Awesome question. I would say I had a few pretty important points in my life that inspired me. First, I think it was really to study chemical engineering and business. I was inspired by my dad, who's a contractor and works with construction. Hard to know what you want to do at 18, but I think I was always really fascinated by the products that people use every day. And so being a chemical engineer is a really strong foundation. I also, after my undergrad, I left the US actually to teach English with a Fulbright teaching fellowship. And kind of a funny turn of events, but I think teaching really showed me very good skills around how to moderate, pitch, present when you're in front of, a room of students. So that was definitely a very important experience. And then, I think if it came to people in my life that I'm surrounded with that support me, I would have to mention my oldest sister, Margie, who has just always been my biggest fan and kind of supporter in different parts of my life, both, harder times, but also to help me celebrate the wins, which is, I would say, just as important as the harder times. So I'd say, yeah, those are kind of the biggest moments and the biggest influencers in my life.
What is your higher purpose in life?
Gosh, yeah, that's a very big question. But I would say, in my mind, it kind of boils down to continuously growing and learning and being able to share those learnings with other people. For me, that's around taking, sometimes very complex problems and sustainability topics and being able to translate them so that any audience can understand them. But I think also in the future, another purpose I hope is just to kind of really create and build something, whether that's my own business or, a family, those kinds of influential change that also have kind of like that higher level purpose so that something can live on, after me. I think those are kind of the two elements of purpose I think about day to day.
That's a powerful purpose. What
Mhm.
have been top three greatest challenges that you have had to overcome?
I would say in life, we have all kinds of different challenges. And fortunately, unfortunately, mine might be pretty relatable for young women who, are high achieving or kind of have big goals. But the first actually was in my teenage years. I unfortunately had suffered with an anorexia and body dysmorphia, which is, mental illness, but really just this manifestation of trying to be kind of perfect and have this kind of perfect image, and that perfectionism actually kind of going inward and trying to control things that way, rather than building self-love and kind of, portraying that outward. So I think that was something I overcame by just really working towards better body positivity and better love of myself, I would say. Another challenge, I think, is just financial independence. It's a different generation for young women to be able to work, support themselves beyond their own, and I'd say do that. And but yeah, self-reliance is really kind of like the first step to freedom. So I think that's a big one. And lastly, probably a lot of people feel this way sometimes, but really that kind of like early career imposter syndrome, when you feel like, hey, what am I the expert in? I don't know anything. but really knowing that your experiences give you a good sense of worth, and trusting your instincts, and knowing that you're kind of really learning a lot along the way, and that you have a unique experience that other people can learn from. So I'd say those are the biggest challenges that I've had in my life, and that I've overcome in different ways.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Yeah, awesome question. And I like that it's kind of greatest failure, because I do think failure is something that needs to be reframed as, a learning moment. But I would say 2 years ago, I actually was in this point where I left a pretty stable job. I actually left a pretty long-term relationship. And so it was kind of what I say, like, I blew up my life a little bit to start fresh. And I moved back to the US, and it was the first time that I was unemployed. And I think that feels like failure, in society sometimes, that you're not contributing. But it was, a few months that I worked part-time as a dog walker, which, first of all, probably one of the best jobs that I've had. But it was really about recalibrating everything, being able to build a new foundation. And that taught me that the foundation is really based on health and finding purpose, and then building on that. So it was really an opportunity, because it was so fresh, and I could kind of start from, where am I going to live? What am I going to do now? That I could build a stronger foundation of healthy habits, and really focus on kind of being like a little bit better each day, rather than, one particular goal or one particular success. So, yeah, I think it took me some time, but that time unemployed, I think, was helpful to see kind of what I was looking for, if that makes sense.
What is the most impactful book you have read and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I've been actually reading a lot more lately. I would say, as I'm an engineer, I have always thought that, I'm a slow reader, and I'm not very good reader, but I actually finished two great books recently. So I have to say two different ones. The first is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This is actually a children's book, which gave me great confidence that I could read it so quickly, and, kind of internalize it quickly. But it's a story about, journey, purpose, destiny. And it's just so relatable to each person, no matter kind of where they come from. And I think it's a really good story about, not focusing too much on the destination, because it can always change. You can have this idea of what that goal is, but really along the way, you just get so many different points of information that help you reorient, or maybe encourage you to take a different path. So I think that book is just a lovely book for everyone to read. But I did finish also another book recently called Worthy, and it's by Jamie Kern Lima. And this is a book about, basically being able to believe that you're enough as you are, and really transforming self-doubt to self-worth. And self-worth is different than confidence, in the sense that it's really intrinsic, and it's about that kind of sense of knowing internally what aligns with your kind of higher purpose and your skill sets. So as she puts it, it's kind of about unlearning the bad habits that we learn in adulthood, and really reconnecting with that kind of pure childlike wonder that we have. So it's a really great book, and that helped me a lot recently, just to kind of reframe some of the problems in my life, I would say.
What are your goals for the next 12 months?
The next 12 months, I think I'm just really in this kind of point in my early career that I'd like to refine my skills and my expertise. I would say, a lot of people enter the sustainability arena with that as a focus. And in my experience, it's a topic area, but it's not a specialty in itself, in which, there's still core skills like communications and data analysis and impact metrics that I think are really key to hone in on. I think as far as kind of my next career growth stages, I'm also looking to get better leadership and prioritization skills. So really working there. And then just on this imposter syndrome kind of uh, aspect, just working to really not be scared to be the authority in the room or the expert in the room, and kind of trusting my instincts. So it's kind of a higher level goal, I would say.
What advice you will give to younger yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to your younger self, it's always interesting, just generally how we speak to ourselves as an indication of things. But I would really probably tell myself not to waste too much time on things that aren't in your control. I think it's really important to identify how lots of things are not in our control, have a bit of faith, and then be able to focus our energy on those things that we really can control. But I think with that, it's also about, in your younger years, you might not think too much about health and exercise and things like that, but also just having the discipline to look at those things as like a regular habit and a routine. And in that sense, also not tying kind of your identity too much to work, to give yourself also other aspects of your life that kind of give you a lot of or just enable you to re-energize. And yeah, on that last bit, just also being wary of people in your life that, maybe take a lot of energy, but don't help you re-energize. So really surrounding yourself with people who help you kind of grow and re-energize as well.
How can we support you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this podcast and this community is already such a great program and idea. I think it's about like continuing to grow the network. So I think it's about connecting people across the board. I am also, so I encourage people to connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a project live in California on reusable packaging. So we're doing a citywide saturation of reusable cups. And so the landing page there is returnmycup.com if you'd like to learn more about that. But just generally looking to make meaningful connections with this kind of group to understand how we can work together. And especially on sustainability, but climate change, energy topics as well.
What would you say about your guest appearance on the show?
I mean, generally, I'm so grateful that, your team reached out to me, and it's just so fun to think about these types of questions. I think it's really a great experience to reflect. And like I said, I'm just excited to stay in touch and kind of continue to learn more about the community, but just a great experience. And I think you do a great job at bringing people together. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. What closing thoughts would you like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, closing thoughts might just be some words of wisdom. I think sometimes we, get into our thinking mind. And so I did learn something recently about happiness. It's like giving compliments to others. And it's really about, you only have moments to react sometimes. So really trusting your gut. And if you have 10 seconds to decide, hey, do I say something? Hey, do I introduce myself? Just do it, so that you can, know and in those moments and not pass those moments. Also, just in this world, it's a pretty challenging world, lots of conflicts and other things going on, but I am just a hopeful optimist. And so, I think be kind, hopeful, assume that everyone is doing the best with the information that they have. And rather than expecting perfection, just kind of accepting that progress kind of takes time. So I think those are the last thoughts I'd have for your audience.
Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Connecting with the Intent Community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Wes. Until the next episode